Look at my hands. Aren't my hands so cute? You know, like, nya. Hi. Notice anything, different about me since the last time we did one of these sit down and chat videos? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. That's right, I'm a VTuber now. Good job, I am so proud of you. I've gotten asked by a few people, more than a few people actually, why I switched to almost exclusively VTubing after spending the last 3 years as a facecam streamer. And the real answer is almost disappointing. The real truth of the matter is that I've wanted to VTube since at least 2021. I have a version of the design for from back then, and I'll toss her up on screen now. Probably over here. She's a bit basic, but cute. But basic. So, I can hear you asking through gritted teeth, because I'm drawing out this intro and being a contrarian and, well, actuallying you guys about it. Why did you start VTubing back then? You could have set up an entire content set based on VTubing alone. And being honest, I was nervous to even try. I loved the idea of VTubing, but didn't know anything about the space in a meaningful capacity other than what my friends were doing and cute anime girls. It felt a bit alien to me then. Hell, it still feels a little alien to me now, but more like an alien high school than just alien society. People on Twitter can be. Anyway, I'm also stubborn. I was running myself into the ground mentally trying to stream with a face cam, among other factors. We can talk about that in another video, but it is mentally draining to try to stick to a niche you're burnt out on. Now, another of the reasons I didn't want to at first was because I felt as if it wasn't me succeeding if I used my model instead of my face, but I think in retrospect that's just imposter syndrome rearing its ugly head. Or self-sabotage. Who knows? So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, the reason I swapped to VTubing was that I was extremely burnt out and needed a huge change to my content to revive my love for creating videos and streams, and VTubing was that change. Learning the softwares, creating my model in VRoid, meeting other weebs purely via association in the space, it breathed life into a content creation career that I could never have imagined when I used to just use a face cam. More than that, it's just so much easier to be on camera when it's filtered through an avatar. I can have snacks, pick my nose, and no one would know unless I said anything. I don't have to worry about makeup, hair, my green screen, or anything. All I need to get ready is my model, tracking, and gamer subs. Oh, right, but now you're wondering what I wished I had known before I started VTube, because it's like the title of the video, right? You actually want me to, like, make good on the title? How silly. Well, buckle up, because these are a doozy. It's no secret that in any space, large or small, there will be a social hierarchy, and splits in that hierarchy based on how those higher up on the funny social pyramid behave. And several social pyramids as a result. Birds of a feather and all that. With the veil of an avatar, a lot of those cliquey high school tendencies come out in force unlike anything I'd seen in the face camming space. Not to say that it can't or didn't happen there, but the anonymity, or pretense of it, is just as much of a curse as it can be a blessing. But that's also exactly why I refer to VTubing as an industry instead of an overarching community. It's like a metroplex. It's an industry with hundreds, if not thousands of communities inside of it. And that's fine. That's great, even. I just wish more people acknowledge the space as less like a neighborhood cul-de-sac barbecue where everyone knows everyone and realized it was more like the USS Enterprise or something. In fact, it's because of the multiple communities VTubers offer entertainment to that it's an industry. No matter who you are, you can find an Ina, or a Pippa, or Mel, or Fillion to fit your content needs, and that's part of the beauty of it, really. If everyone watched the exact same things, or if every VTuber acted exactly the same, or made the exact same content and said the same things, that'd be pretty boring, wouldn't it? Speaking of boring, let's move on to number 2. Is this a softball? This is kind of a softball. Earlier, I showed y'all my original model, and that's what I mean. If you lined my 1.0 up with every other NPC-looking base software official-looking VRoid, she would look exactly like the rest of them. Which is fine from an entry point standard. Having anything is better than nothing in the short term, but from a character design perspective, is that bad? Yeah. One of the best tips I ever got about character design was that if you create a blacked out silhouette of your character and there are no defining features, that the design isn't memorable and you won't be recognizable at a glance. I feel like I should mention here that I don't hate VRoid models. Hell, I'm using one right now, obviously. I am talking a bit of smack though. So. Vroid can be used to do some really cool stuff, especially if you know where to look for assets and how to use the software. Booth is actually the website I use to find all my model textures, and I'll put a link in the description to the exact search tag I use to get straight to all the Vroid assets available. Could you also subscribe while you're down there? I'd love to get to 1,000 subs before the end of April, and if we hit 1,000 subs before April 15th, I'll do a karaoke stream. How's that? How's that for a trade deal, huh? Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Theme. It's really hard. The thing about being a FaceTuber is that your model is kind of pre-chosen for you. You don't have to put in all the extra legwork to redesign your real body all at once. Obviously, we all grow and change over time. That's an entirely different conversation. If you're a default Vroid avatar VTuber and you took any offense to what I just said, take a step away from your computer, really think about it, then come back and see if you still disagree. Then go check out Booth. You can look cool as hell. I believe in you. And if you're just happy with your model the way it is, great! Keep it up. Your content is more important than your model any day. If you're looking to improve, my good friend Larry Demos brings up a great point that simplifying themes and making sure that you aren't overlapping too many styles is a vital skill until you know exactly what makes VTuber model design click. I think that the next thing that really caught me off guard was how the same VTubing is to regular streaming. I was running ideas past some friendos in Umekuma server, also a good friend of the show, that user, about what they wish they had known before they started VTubing, and almost everything they brought up was stuff I've heard from facecam streamers. Coming from the background of face streaming and content that I did, hide your view count, you won't be successful overnight, you have to actually talk to people, none of these things were a surprise to me. At the end of the day, facecam streamers can make exactly the same content as VTubers, and the vice versa also applies. That being said, some of the VTubing specific scuff like ragdolling and tracking mishaps would be lost with an IRL streamer, but my point still stands. So then, if content creation is basically the same no matter if you use a model or a facecam, what really is the difference? When I did facecamming stuff, there was a pretty low bar to entry and a similarly low top out for what would be considered necessary equipment. A Logitech C920 is still a really good starter webcam. I remember when they didn't cost $70, and more than good enough with the right lighting, and a decent DSLR like I have might cost $600. Then you need a capture card, mine's only $20. Your mic probably costs $50 or less, unless you have an XLR, then you're looking at a couple $100s, and then anything else? As long as your computer can encode the stream and play your game at the same time, you're done. Most facecamming upgrades are more on the computer hardware side, a motherboard-powered capture card or a new GPU or what have you. With VTubing, I hope you already have everything I just mentioned above because you're also going to want a live 2D model, the art for rigging that model. If you're staying live 2D, you'll probably want an iPhone for the facial tracking it offers. If you're 3D, you might want a dual PC setup with one PC dedicated just to rendering out your insane Warudo setup. You're paying for art and skebs for the model, emotes for the model, panels for the model, an overlay pack with a matching schedule for the model, logos for the model. Art isn't cheap, and it shouldn't be. Pay your artist, please. You're paying for video or photo edits, thumbnails. You know what, I take back number 3 to a point. In general, the production value of most VTubers' content is way higher just by default because of how much effort goes in on the back end. Other than that, it's still the same though, but then again, this is all just good branding techniques. Maybe it's just that brand cohesiveness is more important to VTubers, given that by the merit of being VTubers, your content is more likely to be visual? Either way, when you push the boundaries the way a lot of creators in the space do, you might also run through a Valve Index or 10. I will not be taking questions at this time. Now, this one is a bit embarrassing, but before I became a VTuber, I had no idea how robust the indie scene was. Sure, I'd seen some around here and there. V-Shoujo almost counts as indie. It doesn't. But I glossed over a lot of potential talent before I got more immersed in the space. Outside of the friends in my circle who are VTubers, I rarely paid attention. That sounds horrible to say. But that aside, there are so many low to mid viewership size VTubers that deserve a lot of love for the hard work and effort they put into their streaming. And it feels silly to say this because I am an indie VTuber, but I'm only really just beginning to accept that that's what I am. Plus, it'd be kind of full of myself to call myself Pog, but I am kind of poggers, and that's totally not cringe. So, yeah, I'm a VTuber now, and it still feels kind of weird. Obviously, I'm still totally okay with leaving my older content up, and I'll still do facecam videos and stream from time to time. I don't particularly care about immersion, personally. But for now, this is scratching the itch of what makes content feel good to make. I had some trouble when I was planning to write this video because a lot of what I had to say here was also stuff I had to say when I was trying to write out a video on my burnout back in January, and thank God that didn't see the light of day, because it was less than hopeful. But with this video, I'm still on track for one long-form video posted every month for the year 2023, and hopefully inching even closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark. Thank you guys so much for your support, it really means the world to me. Will I always be a VTuber? Only time will tell. But for now, I'm happy.